Gold and silver investors know what it feels like to be pummeled. For the last 2 years, we have endured that all around the world. And it's all been done on the back of this belief that everything's kind of sort of okay in the economy. The Federal Reserve, the other world central banks have everything under control. But I think we know the reality is a lot of these systems are being held together with nothing more than bubblegum and duct tape. And when we look at the major news stories coming out on a daily basis, when we look at those individually, maybe things aren't so great in the U.S. economy, in the world economy. I want to look at some of these stories that have been seeping out over the last few days and show that things aren't good in the economy right now. We're going to talk about a number of interesting facts, and we're even going to talk about toilet paper and hot dogs. Let's get started right now. A quick recap on the current precious metal market. Gold is fighting to stay above $1,700 per ounce. My blood pressure just went up. Silver is fighting to get at or above $19 per ounce. It just went up again. My blood pressure, that is. The reason why the metals are struggling as of late can pretty much be attributed to the strong U.S. dollar, the DXY index measuring the dollar against those beacons of strength, the euro and the yen. The U.S. dollar is at historic high levels. The DXY currently at 109. Look back over any time frame, and that is a very, very high level for the U.S. dollar. That's pushing the price of the precious metals down. Enough of that. Let's talk about, the super strong dollar. That must mean that the U.S. economy is in great shape. Let's dive into some recent stories and see if we can piece things together and maybe poke a few holes in that narrative that the U.S. economy is in great shape. Let's talk about the jobs situation here in the United States. Interesting headline. Just how cooked is the official jobs data? PricewaterhouseCoopers finds more than half of U.S. companies are actually laying off people. Now, I thought they just reported great jobs numbers and everything was awesome. Look, the reason why the jobs numbers were so great is because companies for 2 years could not find any employees. People don't want to work anymore. More on that later. So when finally the economy got so bad, prices got so high that so many people had to come back to work or take second or third jobs, there's a sudden availability of people to fill jobs that have been opened by companies for 2 years. Of course they hired them. It's like the toilet paper shortage. Look, if you couldn't find toilet paper for 2 months and suddenly you'll walk into Walgreens and there's a big stock of toilet paper available. No limit on how much you can buy. Instead of buying what you normally would buy, maybe for 1 week, you might buy 2 or 3 times as much because you've been used to going without toilet paper. You've been desperate, just like these companies had been for 2 years. That explains why we had a little burst in hiring during the month of July. The real picture is that companies are laying people off, especially at the high-end professional level. And on the subject of toilet paper, it drives me crazy that every time either one of my 10-year-old twin daughters goes to the bathroom, I hear a tree fall because they use about a third of a roll of toilet paper. Now, I'm not offering financial advice, but you might look into buying some stock in the toilet paper company. Or maybe we should buy some stock in the electric company because it was reported this morning that the average U.S. household, you and me, are spending 47% more right now for electricity than we did 1 year ago. Now that's 47% that we could have been spending on maybe some new shoes for our kids, maybe a nice dinner out. No, it's going for a basic necessity. People are being squeeze. But I'm not going to squeeze you when you decide to join me here in Ron's basement. That would be a little weird, but I do appreciate you making the decision to spend some of your precious time with me here in the basement. You're always welcome and you are important. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel, give the video a thumbs up, turn on the bell notifications. You can share this video with anyone you like, and please leave a comment in the comment section below. That's where we have this great opportunity to learn from each other and to get to know each other. We got further good news about the state of the United States of America when a Gallup poll survey was released saying that a record number of Americans are suffering, higher now than even during the 2008 crisis. People are suffering, not struggling, okay, suffering. Things are worse now than any time in the recent past. Again, not a real positive sign for the quality of life, for the quality of the economy in the United States. But at least you can afford a house, right? No, wrong. You can't. Pretty soon, the only thing people will be able to afford are basements, but trust me, it's not that bad. We have data saying that housing affordability is at its lowest level in decades and decades. That came out from Goldman Sachs, but a very interesting statistic. Mathematically true right now, a house in the United States, to get an average house, the mortgage payment would be twice as high as it would have been 2 years ago, approaching $2,000 per month, whereas 2 years ago, it was right around $1,000 per month. The reason it has doubled, right, the average payment on the average house, is because mortgage rates are much, much higher and the price of the houses went up. Housing is unaffordable here in the United States, and I know that's the case in the rest of the world, but I'd be curious to hear from people outside the United States about housing affordability in your country. I just have a few more negative points to bring up, and then we'll wrap up with something really positive. Have you heard about this new phenomena in the United States called quiet quitting? Quiet quitting. It's this new thing that the younger generations are doing, that instead of quitting their job, they've decided to just continue at their job, but not really try, not really be engaged, not give their heart to their job, not give their soul to their job. Maybe they've watched their parents work their life away for a big, big company, only to get laid off, only to get pushed aside in their older years. I don't know the real reason behind it, but it's a growing phenomena in the United States within the younger generations where they're kind of just saying, well, I'm not going to quit my job, but I'm just not really going to try too hard. This comes on the heels of the Great Resignation. Remember that went on during COVID when a lot of people quit their jobs? Again, points towards a really healthy employment picture in the United States. And it's still the case that almost 50% of small businesses are reporting that they're having a hard time paying their rent, and 70% of American families making over $100,000 per year are worried about being able to pay their bills because of inflation. Heck, I bet that number's up to 72 or 73% by now. But let's move on to something positive. This morning, when I was sitting at the computer, out of the corner of my eye, I can see what my wife is watching on TV, and she always watches the Today Show every morning. Now, I'm not real big into the mainstream media news channels. I'll watch a few minutes of CNN, Fox News, the local news, but mostly for entertainment. But as I was listening to what they were talking about on the Today Show, my ears perked up, because Savannah Guthrie, she said that inflation has peaked and coming down. So that's the new narrative that we're going to be sold from the mainstream media. But what I thought was super positive and just so exciting that when she went through a list of products that have come down in price, at the top of the list, the big deal was that hot dogs have come down in price. Now, isn't that great? Now that all we can afford to eat are hot dogs here in the United States, the price is actually dropping. Hey, I kind of like hot dogs, I got to be honest, but I thought it was funny that they wanted to highlight the fact that the lowest level of the meat food chain, that's where the big savings can be had right now for your giant Labor Day barbecue. Heck, you might even make a thing of Kool-Aid and really have a huge party. Thanks for joining me in Ron's Basement. You are always welcome here from wherever in the world you're joining me. Be well and see you soon.